part 3 of our pillars when it comes to becoming a successful entrepreneur, successful tradesperson, successful company within renewable energy. And we're going to be jumping into self-development, or in other words, leadership. So we're getting ready to jump into leadership. And for me personally, this is my favorite topic when it comes to the 3 pillars of success. When it comes to the skilled trades, when it comes to the renewable energy. Why is that? Because as we learn from hard skills, as we learn from soft skills, all of these different qualities that you can develop, skills you can learn, don't mean nothing to your organization if you do not have leadership qualities. How so? Well, we talked about, for the majority of the people who come into the solar industry, the construction culture, they come based off of a hard skill mindset. They learn how to get the job done. They learn how their skills equal value. So that's why they got into business. That's why for so many contractors who come in from the field have issues with soft skills, because they're not used to the office work. They're not used to the conversations. They're not used to communicating. They're not used to project management. If there's an issue, they'll tackle it. But the soft skills, the operational side of things, is what holds them back for the most part. Vice versa. So many people who come into contracting, so many individuals who come into the solar industry solely with the background of soft skills. For example, there's many directors of operations, VPs of organizations that say, hey, I'm going to go on my own because I understand what it takes to run a business. So they have all the systems in place. They know the QCs. They may even have a successful contracting network, basically, to get them in positions to start their business that's going to help them. But what do we see? A lot of these individuals don't have the hard skill knowledge. They can say, hey, on paper, we need to complete this install. But in reality, they don't understand what's the intrinsities within the job site, or the difficult roofs, the pitches, the things that you foresee within the construction field. They don't have that knowledge. They don't know how to operate around it. So what happens? They have to rely on contractors to tell them how to operate their business. So even though they have their systems, they have their QCs, they themselves, without the hard skill knowledge, are limited in their full success. So if you have the hard skill, if you come in with hard skill, you usually see your bottleneck around here with the soft skills. If you come in with soft skills, your bottleneck is usually around hard skills. So many of these individuals end up hiring subcontractors to do their work. But now they have rogue agents almost doing the work, and they don't know the codes. They don't know the operations of what has to get done. They're depending on the contractors to do the job properly, to do the install to code, to get the pass, to get the system activated. But what happens? We have failed inspections, and now they are operating on efficiency on how to get to the next job. They send their crews to the next job, and now we have the issue of quantity over quality. They're worried about the next job, next job, next job. Them too over here in hard skills can focus on the next job, that they dilute their worth. They dilute the work ethic, so they start experiencing fails. That brings us to our first slide, where we discussed today what were the 3 major fails all industries throughout the US are facing when it comes to renewable energy. Hard skills. This is the technical stuff for the skills of the work, the physical work. They fail on loose connections, wire management, grounding and bonding. This is very elementary stuff if you come from the trades. Grounding and bonding, that's easy. Wire management, easy. Loose connection, you should understand all these things if you come from the worker mindset. So for skilled trades, or for soft skills, they look at this and this is a new language to them. They say, what's NEC? What's the code book? What? Because they're used to operating their business. They don't understand we're in an industry that the NEC governs the parameters in which they're operating. That brings us to our next phase, the soft skills. Contractors who come in with the hard skill mindset don't understand what QCs are. They don't understand the flow or the importance of a project manager. They don't understand why you have to keep communicating with all these different departments. We have town, utility, municipality, state inspectors. All these different things affect the day-to-day operations, and it all revolves around communication. The construction culture is so used to putting their head down and going to work. So this is another language to the individuals who come in with a hard skill mindset. But now we're going to jump into my favorite personally, self-development and leadership. And that's because if you have the brains, if you have the manpower, the workforce to do the work, but if you yourself as the engine of that company don't foster a leadership mentality, all of this is going to fall apart. And what did we learn within the last few years within the renewable energy? There's companies who are creating, or companies that are starting just to handle servicing because someone improperly installed the system on their home. So there's a service department or there's a service company responding to these calls. The system's a year, 2 years, 3 years in, and we're saying this should be under warranty. Who is your contractor? He's no longer in business. That is becoming the culture, the norm within the solar industry. So that gives us, especially if you're a leader, especially if you're working on self-development, what are some things that I have to work on to become efficient? What are some things I have to work on so I can continue to grow my operation? So what I love about these 3 pillars is each one has to work with the other. Now, if this is one person, awesome. These can be 3 different roles, or there's somebody who can have multiple roles as well. The thing that keeps this all together, though, is soft skills, leadership, communication within your industry. Because if you're going to rely on somebody to do the installation, you have to communicate that with them so they have that sense of urgency. You have to also communicate with the office that, hey, to keep things in operation, this is what we have to do, this is our goals, this is what we have to hit every week, every month, every quarter. But the one driving the company, the engine of that company, is ultimately going to decide the fate of the company. Now, you can start a company, and if you have a lot of work, you can keep afloat. Same thing with soft skills. If you have a lot of work, you can keep afloat. It's when the back pile of fails, the back pile of recalls, the back pile of insurance claims starts backing up, that's when eventually you're going to have to be shut down because you can't keep up with the demand at that point. That all stems from the leader who's going to be driving that. So many people in the morning that we're talking to, hey, the solar industry is now sales incentivized. That's fine, as long as you understand what's needed to be handled over here. The construction industry just wants to get it done, That's fine. You can work, and you can work your butt off, but you have to make sure you have those systems to keep things running efficiently. But at the end of the day, whoever's going to take the lead has to make sure that they have the vision of where they're going to go so that each machine, each engine can run smoothly with the leader to reach that goal. That's why as a whole, this is why I say these are the 3 pillars of success when you want to come to renewable energies. You have to get the work done. You have to run on efficiency. But whoever has the vision has to now guide that train. And that's how you guys grow together. This morning, we talked on hard skills. As a recap, we went over the 3 major fails that we're seeing throughout the industry, throughout the US. Grounding and bonding, wire management, and loose connections. We see it, that's a hard skill, that's certification, that's knowledge pertaining to getting the work done. Why is that so important? Now we know why, because in systems, we want to make sure that we're responding to these trouble calls, we're responding to the projects in an efficient way. We're communicating, we're documenting, we're learning that we need quality control, we need project managers. We understand there's an order of operation to everything. And that QC is that order of operation. And for the ones who are very, very good at soft skills, they have QCs for their QCs. There's people who in their SOPs, they get to the last step and it says go back to step 1 and double check everything. So you want to make sure that there is no leaks, there's no choke points when it comes to your soft skills. But once again, now we're coming to the topic of leadership. As important as leadership is, it's one of the topics less talked about. Because once again, so many people are sales incentivized, get it done, get it done, get it done, sell, 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 and no one's really looking at the engine, the vision of where they want to go. And that brought me down a rabbit hole, because to this day, one of my favorite shows on TV is the show that The Men Who Built America. And if you guys ever watch that show, you get to see basically the founding fathers of big business. You get to learn about Andrew Carnegie, Rockefeller, you learn about JP Morgan, you will learn about Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, the biggest pillars when it comes to American history, when it comes to business. These guys wrote the book on it. And it's the same throughout all these years. It's the same operation. To this day, my favorite books, Lincoln on Leadership, The Rockefeller Habits. Amazing books. If you're looking into something on leadership, you should jump into these books right away. Highly recommend. The reason why I love Lincoln on Leadership and everything when it comes to like the founding fathers of America, I love it because they were known as men of leadership, with leadership qualities, leadership capacity, under the worst conditions possible. So these guys are during a civil war or a war with Great Britain, while it's a new country forming with no workforce, trying to stir up interest, and yet they overcame and we have America. Or we have Lincoln, civil war, civil unrest, yet during these unforeseen times, during these times of war, literally people trying to kill you, they are, yes, there's good, yes, there's bad, but yet they're still known as men of leadership. That they write books among them, that there's a whole Mount Rushmore just highlighting these individuals. So how can somebody be known as a leader under the worst circumstances? And now we're in the 21st century. We got Wi-Fi, we got air conditioner in our work vans, our guys have nice equipment, they got tools to make the job easier, and yet leadership is a quality that we're all slowly losing. And then we're also not training the individuals, our workforce. We're telling them, go get it done, but we're not telling them why it's important. So that's why, as much as I love the construction industry, as much as I love the opportunity to bring a service to somebody, I always tell everybody, even though the construction industry can give you a life that you want, life not only that you deserve, but sadly the construction industry sets you up for failure because it doesn't teach those qualities like they used to. That's why one of the three pillars, or the most important pillar of success when it comes to the skilled trades, is self-development and leadership. Now we're gonna start breaking those things down. But I wanna ask you guys, we have some individuals who are back and some new faces. What sector of renewable energy, or what sector of the trades are you guys pertaining to? We know we have distribution, but mechanical engineer background, right? And what state are you guys operating out of? Oh, New York, Atlanta? Okay, awesome. So we have distribution. New York and Atlanta. We have utility, 2. And Atlanta as well, or just Georgia? Georgia. Where are you from, and what background in renewable energy are you working with? Solar. And what state are you guys working out of? North Carolina? Solar contractor, solar sales, solar EPC? Perfect. And we had Northern Canada? Canada, wow. Okay. Utility. And you said that was wind also, right? Come again?
Large scale wind.
Large scale.
Developing solar.
Perfect. Large scale wind. From Canada. And boom, 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 boom. What's exciting? And what part of the States are you from?
Basically everything from inverters back to the grid.
Awesome. And what state are you operating out of?
We're nationwide.
Okay.
We have like 40 different service centers.
Awesome. So we got Testing nationwide. Beautiful. What I love about all these concepts, all these principles that we're going over, as we mentioned in hard skills, as we mentioned in soft skills, each one of these principles that we're learning about applies to our everyday life. It doesn't just apply to the work that we're doing. Hard skills, taking out the trash, as we gave a little example. If there's an issue, we know it comes from one of these down here. Is it a soft skill issue? Is it communication? Did we not call the customer? Or is it the guy showed up on site and they made a hole in my roof and now it's leaking? But then who is the leader? Who are you? What are you going to do when it comes to accountability? I gave you the example. Is my wife really upset that I didn't take out the trash? So is it really the hard skill issue? Or is it the fact that there was things leading up to that and that was the last straw? Yet, how am I going to take accountability? Am I going to say, hey baby, I'm wrong, let me take the trash out? So these concepts that we learn, these pillars of success in solar actually apply in all aspects of life. So especially when it comes to self-development, because true organizations with the right leader leading and running that engine can guide any operation, any business, whatever you see fit. Because you can understand, you can get people, you can have the team to run hard skills. You can have the team run the systems and develop the systems and the QCs and the follow-up. But nobody, you can't pay, yeah, okay, now you can get a CEO to run the company, but that's through a whole, they have already a track record of already proving that. Nobody just out of the blue hires a new CEO to run your company. There's a whole process to that. And when it does happen, there's metrics that they follow. Trust me, they're QCing the new CEO. So what's so funny about leadership, it transfers throughout industry, it transfers throughout all aspects of life. But yet, leadership is never talked about. It's very rarely the highlight. And just like I mentioned to some of the individuals who came from the beginning, to this day, I love the history on the founding fathers. I love it because these men were known as men of leadership qualities through the worst periods of time. Yet now we're in the 21st century. Now we're owning, operating our own business. We have Wi-Fi, we have air conditioning, we got heat, and we still lack leadership skills. When we have all the resources to even be better. We have Wi-Fi hotspots in our vehicles now where we can text the homeowner, hey, we're on their way. Or at least have systems to text the homeowner. Yet we still don't send that text. So how is it we are more connected than ever, yet we're still disconnected when it comes to leadership qualities? These are all different things that we want to just keep in focus. And like I mentioned, the number one rule for a leader you want to understand is your vision. And that applies to all kinds of, that doesn't just mean you're a contractor. That doesn't mean you're just the CEO. When it comes to vision of understanding and taking accountability of what you're tasked with. There's a saying, well, I don't know if it's a saying, but my father told it to me. I ran with it my whole life. He goes, being a leader is taking account. How does it say? Accountability is by taking account of stuff. Let me try to say that again. What was it? Because he said it in Spanish. So I'm trying to remember. So now we got the whole reverse thing. But basically, you have to take accountability by being accountable. Those are two different things. You have a bank account, but are you responsible for that bank account? You can have an account, but how is the account looking? If it's on zero, you're not taking care of it as the way you should. So if you truly want to be accountable for something, you have to take accountability. That's the basics in Spanish, you know?
It's kind of like they say you have to inspect what you expect, right? So, same thing.
And when it comes to solar, what I'm noticing, because I myself am an electrical contractor out of the Northeast, what I'm noticing is what we talked about earlier. You are only as strong as your weakest link. And in an operation, that could be hard skills, that could be soft skills, but for the most part, you can be that weakest link in your operation if you don't know how to guide your team. If you don't know how to connect all three of these, as we mentioned from before, you yourself could be that weakest link. And this topic, if it hits home, it's kind of one of those things where you got to do a self-analysis on. But what are some things that we can do? What are some things that you guys are doing, or your team, or the industry you're working in? What are some examples of leaders that you have? Are you in a leadership position, a management position, or are you looking forward to a position like that? I want to hear from you guys. In distribution, how is it like? At the end of the day, who's the leader?
CFO, so.
Come again?
I'm the CFO, so.
Oh, that's a big, that's, okay, one, that's leadership position. Anything after that is is a leadership position. So yeah, you got a very big responsibility. So taking accountable of that account, that's a big one for you, right?
CEO and CFO.
You're both? That's amazing. That's amazing. So you can feel the pressure.
Every day, all day.
Yeah, and true. You don't have the 8 to 4. You don't have the shut off.
No.
No, because you're taking accountability for everything that you're accountable for. I love that. So we got CEO level, C-suite. Let's put that down. Leadership. We have CEO, CFO. I know we had some project managers, right? So what is some qualities of leadership that you guys are responsible for, or what department, or what's your responsibility when it comes within leadership?
I guess for me, I work with a lot of the folks that work out in the field, so when it comes to leadership, it's just making sure I provide them with what they need to do the jobs, but remove the obstacles.
Exactly.
Make their jobs easy as possible.
And not only that, true or not, you're thinking about, you're trying to foresee what they can run into too. Because if you like what you said before, what I loved is on your notes, what you said, remember, proactiveness. If you sat down waiting for them to tell you there's an issue, what is that? Is that proactive? That's reacting. So I loved how from the beginning you had a mindset of proactiveness. That's a quality of a leader. Appreciate you. So we got project managers. What other departments are we working within? Operation and maintenance. So you're accountable for all the physical operations that are getting done. Yep. Operations. What's tough about subcontractors is you can have your standards, but then you're, like what we mentioned before, you're relying for them to maintain their standards, right? And at the end of the day, they're their own company with their own vision. So that communication between you two, it's a special communication, because you're not talking to them as an internal staff, you're talking to them as another leader. How can we get this goal together? So I love that. Operations, especially when it comes to subcontractors. How about you? Yeah, what area are you working in, or are you responsible? Engineering? Oh, so you're the whole design, the whole quality control of a system. That's big. Without you, we can't even get the permit or the approval from utility. We can't even do the job because we don't know what's going on. Engineering, big. And yourself, my friend?
CEO, CFO.
Oh, so 2 times, oh, we got 2 of those. Awesome. So as you can imagine, not only vision of the company, the financial structure of the company, every single thing lays on you guys. And not only do you have the vision, you have to now sell that vision to the entire team. And then hopefully they all work with you in unison to reach those goals, either hard skills, soft skills. So I appreciate you. What I love about self-development, what I love about leadership, is everybody's a leader, whatever your job position is. Outside of work, you're either a husband, a wife, father, mother. We all are a leader. So many people, especially when it comes to leadership, especially in construction industry, you ever notice when like someone gets promoted to a foreman or rank and then they're like, oh, they think they're better than me. They have that mindset. Or when other people are learning about leadership, they say, oh, I'm not that type of guy. I don't want to like look down on anyone. That's a twisted view of leadership. Leadership is not that. If I guarantee you, if I call you guys are doing more work than the guy just coming in for 8 to 4. With leadership, you are being of service to the guys. Like we talked about, we're checking proactiveness. Like what I mentioned, those first years of your apprenticeship. Those first years of your apprenticeship, you're learning to be of service to your journeyman. You're learning to be of service to your workforce. That's what leadership is. You're going to take the lead, but at the same time, you're facilitating everyone with the goals that they need or the metrics that they need to reach so that you all can work together. And on and off the clock, we are all leaders. The focus on today is not just leadership, but it's self-development. Because if we're all leaders, we can all be good, or could we all be, we have some work to do, right? Self-development comes in play because it's the quality of leader you want to be now. How many times have you guys heard, especially in the corporate side? Now I'm slowly moving into the LinkedIn world, and all I see is your job title doesn't make you a leader. True or not? You see that all the time. It's true though, isn't it? Because we see guys who will go through the promotion and you're like, I ain't liking that. There's something that has to change. So we have to understand that if you want to be a leader, you have to focus on self-development. But a leader has to be able to communicate with all these people as well. It's not a ranking, but it's a quality that you guys want to develop. If you are in the position as a leader where you're always going to look and have a QC, as we mentioned for soft skills, for hard skills, we have QCs for hard skills. We have QCs for soft skills. And we learned if you are a leader or if you're working on self-development, trust me, like what we mentioned before, you're kicking yourself more than anyone else can kick you. You're like, I dropped the ball on that. I should have done that better. You're mentally making your own QC for yourself. When this happens again, I'm gonna act like this. If that happens again, I'm gonna speak to him like that. He messed up, was I approachable, or did he hide it from me because I wasn't approachable? Those are all things someone in leadership capacity has to recognize. But just because you're in that position, you can say, hey, he deserved it. Hey, he should have known better. But self-development is saying, what could I have done for him to come talk to me before that became an issue? Because now I have to react instead of be proactive. It's the same circumstance. You ever heard that other analogy where it's like a supervillain and a superhero both had the same incident? It's how they react to it afterwards. One guy got treated poorly, and he became a supervillain. He said, everyone's gonna feel my pain. The other guy, I've been treated poorly, I'm gonna make sure no one else feels like that again. The same thing when it comes to leadership. We're all in leadership position. We're all going through the same thing. How are we gonna respond to our industry? Right now with the solar, the truth is there's things that we can do to improve on. We learned that there's things here we can work on. There's things here we can work on. And there's big things here we can work on. And that's why the topic of today was building leadership skills for lasting success. Because as we mentioned, you can build a successful company, you can build a successful team, just if there's a quantity of work. But eventually when the work starts slowing down, that's when all the choke points start getting exposed. You can build a successful company if you have systems in place, because you're going to keep everything moving along. Okay, nice. But once again, if there's bad installs, we're going to hear it some way, shape, or form from the customer. If you don't have leadership qualities, if you don't work on self-development, you're going to lose everything. Because you're developing a culture for these guys, you're developing a culture for these systems, and eventually it won't be lasting success. Well, that's why, once again, one of the books that I highly recommend till this day, if anybody in a leadership position, anybody working in upper management, The Rockefeller Habits. It's an amazing book where you literally see, and they tell you step by step, how did Rockefeller operate and run his businesses. And he broke it down to who's going to do the job, how we're going to get the data from the job, how do I work on myself that people now want to speak to me. That's all he said. And guess what? In our terms, hard skills, soft skills, self-development. That's all it is. You have the people to tackle this. That's awesome. How do you build them up? You have people and systems to tackle this. Awesome. Build them up. You have your goals, you have your vision, but how am I going to relay that to them? Am I going to do it in what type of culture? Because we're all leaders. Are we going to do it with improving the culture, or we're going to do it with, we're going to have become a revolving door of employees coming in and coming out, coming in, coming out, and eventually we're all going to die in this company. You understand? That's why, for me, leadership is so important, because it's so overlooked. Yet, it's one of the most vital positions. And we can all speak from experience. There's so many different opportunities where we've seen individuals in our life. True or not, there's always 2 or 3 where you're like, yeah, thinking about it, that dude was like awesome. Yeah, he was a good leader. For me, I was so fortunate. I had very great mentors throughout my life. And these mentors, it was funny, they all had the same quality. They all had, or it's one way, shape, or form, they all said the same thing. And I'm like, huh, interesting. It's nice to see that there's mentors, there's leaders in your life that actually help you. How about you guys? Do you guys have something like that in your company, or you're looking for somebody in that capacity? How does it work for you guys?
Self-managed the way we're situated here right now. Yeah, definitely taking a lot away from what you're bringing up here from a personal side.
Yeah. Once again, it transfers in all aspects, you know. Taking out the trash is my favorite one. You know, that's the one I get smacked on every Tuesday, because then we got to wait for the trash out. So I got a QC on Monday. It's like, trash is tomorrow, take it up. But no, I appreciate that. How about you guys, especially CEOs and CFOs? That's a whole nother world, you know?
We have really good leaders at the company, and a lot of it comes from the culture of the company. So creating a culture where it's very open and people take ownership has helped quite a bit, and that some of that comes from the leaders, or the top leaders kind of shine from that type of culture.
But you're the CEO. Where does that culture stem from?
You have to create.
There you go. So that only, everyone else is a reflection of you. So that speaks highly of you guys. So keep it up. That's amazing. How about you?
Like you were saying, CEOs, they use their teams to collaborate with each other, much like in project management, which is what he does, and have effective communication skills. Communication skills, all of these hard skills and soft skills. And that's how you actually create a lot of the systems, because when the communication, when it's open and you see where something is dropped, you know where you now have to pick up in the system to have that not happen again. Even though you want to be proactive.
And I love how you touched on that. Were you here? You weren't here for the second one, right?
No, I was not.
What did we talk about? If Bigfoot slapped the glass, because there's opportunities where you can QC, hey, this is stuff, we can be proactive on some things.
Right.
But what happens when something that's never happened before happens? You don't know what you don't know, right? So how do you respond to that? That now falls on leadership. Because if we gave the illustration, if Bigfoot came and slapped all the solar panels off someone's house, one, the leader is going to be like, okay, something bad happened. What did we say? Villain or hero? That's not solving the issue. Or could you go okay, Bigfoot is now on the loose. Let's make a QC for when Bigfoot slaps glass again. And then you react like this, and then you do the training. But so just like you said, you want to be proactive, that's fine. But then you as a leader is going to determine how you're going to react when new things happen. Are you going to be proactive or reactive? You can plan for as much as you can, but then you can plan on how you're going to respond when something happens that you had no control over. And that's what we talked about. So once again, it's just showing how everything funnels itself in whatever capacity. I appreciate you. That's awesome. How about you? When it comes to leadership, is there anything in your organization that you look forward to, or there's maybe some things that you like, you dislike? How's the culture of leadership within your company?
I'm a special case of like.
No, once again, that's what we're talking about. Even if it's a special case, let's hear it.
Well, I'm walking away from having a PhD in leadership. So
Yeah.
my whole approach to everything is much different than everybody else.
Well, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, PhD or a leader, but like, from a PhD book standpoint or what do you think about what's your approach?
Because what I love about leadership is understanding its self-development. So this is all opportunities to learn.
This is an opportunity for self-development.
Exactly.
I was going to say, so unfortunately, 90% of the time, and that's being conservative, the issue with an organization is at the top, right? So what happens is,
Yep, I agree 100%.
if I put it into terms of how you got it broken down, we as leaders get into positions ill-prepared to properly lead. And there is no system that we put in place or that ever gets developed to properly prepare us to improve. Like you were saying, you vet yourself, but every other system has a QC process, but we don't get one. So how do we ever improve if we're only vetting ourselves? And we put ourselves in a position where we're disjointed
Yep.
from the rest of the population, and we can't really listen down.
I
We
think
only
it's,
want to listen across.
I think it's when you're dealing with medium and small size companies, that would be the case. But when you're dealing with larger companies, a lot of times for the larger companies, they do have a vetting process, and it's the people that along that leadership thing and below them.
It's a misnomer. That's what the population thinks. The research points much different.
Oh wow.
And it's appended to all of the large organizations you can think of. Intel, Google, Microsoft, all of those are included.
And I'm not saying every leader is at the top level, because a lot of them just come in from other organizations thinking that they can do something.
Yep.
They have no clue what's going on within that one. And that's what causes like a friction.
That's a part of
in particular, there's a board of directors, and they'll select who they want. And
Right, exactly.
And normally these folks, the company I work for, people that make it to the top are people that work for the company. Like, they don't bring folks in from outside. Like, if you leave, you may come back and you can work your way up, but so normally for the company I work for, everybody is, I would say, vetted by their board of directors, and normally you've worked your way up in the company.
the unfortunate circumstance is if you just look at the math, if 90% of your leaders are improperly positioned, they don't get to the position based on merit, competency, capability, or talent. Typically network
That's where it is.
and social paradigm, right?
Yep.
That's
So if
one
those
thing
are the same
is
people
that-
making the
I correct.
decisions,
I believe 100%.
Because before I came
how can you properly
do
foster and lead the company if
executive
everybody's similar?
Yeah.
They
to
don't
only
have the capability to need to
CFO,
grow.
CIO.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You put it that way,
And I
so it's
mean,
like you get someone who is a competent, that's a competent, and not a competent person.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's why,
Yeah.
to his earlier example, he was like, you'll see somebody get promoted, and you're like, how that person get promoted? Like,
Yeah.
that's an outcome that happens. That's the adage is the blind leading the blind.
Correct. And then that's what I also love about when I say from the beginning, as much as I love the construction industry, it doesn't set you up for failure. It sets you up for failure. It doesn't set you up for success because they don't teach the importance of this. Now, with that in mind, exactly what you're saying is why I built my entire school. Because like I said, my school that we built up, we're building it with the mindset of, I should have learned this in my apprenticeship. Remember, I grew my business to XYZ, and my #1 video right now is, I should have stayed an apprentice. Because if I stayed an apprentice with like Benjamin Button style, I would have recognized I need to be a facilitator more than actually focusing on the hard skill. Me personally, because if I can now understand, if I have teams, if I have responsibilities, I can facilitate them, I can train them in the way that I want to be trained as like that apprenticeship mindset I said, then that wouldn't be an issue with you. Because now I'm fostering my own community and building up everybody. And then I get to dictate that culture as a CEO, right?
That's a mentality shift. Because
Yeah.
I had a one-on-one conversation with the EVP of Verizon.
Okay, yep.
And he went nails to the wall against what I was trying to tell him. Like, and being leaders of the company, you understand this. Like, respect at any level comes from understanding and speaking the language of whoever you're talking to.
Correct.
At their level. If I can't talk to you about the job you do on the daily, you can't lead me because I can't come to you with questions.
And that's the disconnect.
That's the soft skills and the hard skills. That's the disconnect you're referring to, right?
Yep.
However, if most leaders get to a position of authority and prestige, we call it, at an accelerated rate,
Fast success.
It's fast success. How have they had the time to foster the necessary skill sets to be able to have those conversations at those different
I agree 100%.
tiers to garner the respect of all the different levels of the organization? It's not that you have to be able to do the work, but you need to be able to garner the conversation.
I agree.
That's where there's a massive disconnect, and it's industry independent. It's a massive disconnect across the board because most, I'll call them most fast trackers, they don't want to put the time in to be able to have that capability to talk at any level of the organization. They don't understand the value.
Yep.
And it's a significant value. Believe me, it's a significant value.
No, and I believe it. I believe it. And I think we're saying the same thing, just in different terms. I'm also speaking as a, like, if you are a contractor, so you're determining that company culture. You're a CEO, you're a CFO, you're determining that company culture. In the other perspective, if you're coming within the ranks and you see what's going on, at the end of the day, it's the CEO to actually take action on that. Now, is there an issue if they don't? You're absolutely right.
Now you're talking about organizational change.
Exactly.
They're talking about organizational development.
Exactly. So it's this.
They
we're
work together. They work
Yeah.
together.
You have a better
It-
shot
it
of being at the
tips-
top now
Yeah.
than coming into a large organization and trying to enforce an inaction.
correct. That I believe. That I believe. But at the end of the day, who it relies on is the COO. It's the engine of that company. Exactly. So whoever, if he's now letting that system go, he's fostering that own culture. You know what I mean? Guys and gals who are now that engine can determine what that culture is going to be, especially with self-development. Like, let's say that's going on in her company. She decides to let that go. Well, she's deciding what that is. But if she's like, I want to make sure that I want to change this, then she can change that from the top.
Correct. But the question then becomes then, right?
Yeah.
Because we've already established that there's a disconnect.
Yep.
Who's telling them that?
The people from the bottom are telling
And then
you.
what? And then
Because when there's disorganization down here,
Right.
you feel it at the top. Trust.
yeah.
Right. See, you're-
Especially CFO, when the numbers, when the math ain't mathing, you're like, you know, there's a few zeros missing.
You see it in the cash flow.
you see it in the cash flow.
Yeah.
But how, and maybe you guys are the exception. How often does that finger progress?
But that's why I'm saying it's not leadership, it's self-development. Self. If you are in the position to now self-assess yourself, that's what we're talking about.
I work with a CEO right now, and he is so headstrong about what he knows.
I've been doing this for 30 years mentality.
So he does not want to do self-development because he thinks he's already developed to the top. Like, I'm 100%. What I don't need to change, I know what I am.
Yep.
Everything is good.
And the second one to that one is always,
He
in
lost
my
$2 million
position, I don't have
last
enough
week
time
just for that.
to worry about trying to be better.
Exactly. But that's why I'm saying these are the principles. We understand principles change wherever you go if they get tailored, but the principle is the key that we want to focus on. It's the principle. Now, every organization is going to be different. Every organization has a different engine who he may be complacent. He's not going on a 30-year run. He's not looking to now, hey, let's look for the next campaign. He's just like, let's just keep everything going. All those things dependent on the engine, that CEO, the leader of that company is going to dictate everything everyone else experiences though. You know, maybe in bigger organizations like state level, now you're getting into political, now you're getting into a whole bunch of things that individual can't change the whole system. You know what I mean? Like, for example, when I first started with the union, I started with the railroad. And everyone's like, the first day I came in, don't try to be a hero. I'm like, what the? Day one, that was what my journeyman would tell me. Don't try to be a hero. What do you think the culture's like? It's a state job. We're gonna show up. You just get paid. Don't try to change anything or mess it up for us. We got unlimited over. That was the culture that was developed, you know? And then when you always go on the news and like in New York City, the MTA is requesting another $10 million. And it's like, why? And they don't know how to justify it. Well, is it because you're telling the guys down below, don't try to be a hero? You're taking away our over, you know what I mean? But then what's the CEO gonna do? True or not, the news are asking her what's going on. They're not asking, you know, the midnight worker, hey, how are we gonna change this company and save some money? But you can clearly see it's a cultural thing. Yeah.
But in your example, how does that does not know until the news points it to their door. Like, it's been brought up to your point, it's been brought up before.
Yep.
They know, they can look at the financials
Yeah,
of the
they haven't.
overtime hours and the amount of money they're spending on it, and do they want to do something in order to reduce all of that overtime hours?
But see, this is. I'm about to
No, I love this. Good.
you both made similar points that interconnect. If there's a disconnect, he comes in the door, they tell him what from day one.
Don't try to be here.
Don't try to be a hero. That's the culture, right?
Yep.
So who's now talking to the CEO about anything?
Exactly.
Everybody's trying to be a hero. Change never comes because change never enacted.
Exactly.
Change is
It's
necessary.
not that the C-suite doesn't know change needs to happen. I'll give you an example where my mother worked. They had plenty of overtime. I mean, like, gazillion. It was out of control overtime. They were living their lives based
Yeah.
on.
In our locker rooms, I had guys who had beds, cots, especially utility. You guys too. These guys are living out their truck.
Yeah, they're one of
Right.
the worst.
Yeah.
I know firsthand. I'm from the worst.
Yeah.
So cut back on overtime, they started looking at the systems that were in place and said, we can change these systems in order to reduce the overtime. And everybody on the hard skills side started jumping up and down and screaming because now they got Mercedes-Benz to pay for it, but they don't have Mercedes-Benz hourly salary, but they're paying for it with the overtime. So the C-suite sees it. It's just up to them to determine if they want to change the system in order to infect that change into the organization.
This also comes from empowering your middle management. Your middle management has empowered to be able to make change. They're seeing it on a more daily basis. And that change is going to happen quicker, and people are going to order them to make those changes.
Because the people who are doing up under the middleman, they're going to say, well, have all of these excuses. But if you don't give the middle management that power to enact the changes that are made from that top level,
But does the change require a value? Like, both the examples that Flo gave had a value to it. And that's typically what the problem is. If I can't append the value to what the change requirement is, it's completely omitted. Because it has to make business sense. It has to make, it's either got to be black or red, right? But most changes can't be qualified or quantified with value from the beginning.
It doesn't because there's a cost for the culture.
right?
Creating so
It's intrinsic.
let me give an example. If somebody wants to
And the
buy
PM
some
is
tape
over there going,
tape guns, and you're like, look, we don't need these. Sometimes you just say, you know what, go ahead and order those. No problem. They buy it, it makes them happy. It may have been a waste of $100, but you get $1,000 back from a happier employees, happier group, just because you did it. You don't let them run all over you. But sometimes you got to take the L to get the W.
right?
No.
Yeah.
Because they have to feel that they are valued. Their opinions, what they want, what they need, are also valued. You just can't dismiss it.
And then in our
Give up something to win the championship.
And when it comes to our apprenticeship training, when we give our students the coursework, when we give our students the training, in our SOPs we have for our instructors, give them opportunities to fail. And then they say, okay, failure is not something to be upset about. It's the self-development, what we can learn. We say, just like what you said, what's the cost of that opportunity? Okay, he's gonna, in the back of his head, never know what happens if I do this. And no, try it out. Learn, connect that wire, bang! Okay, no one got killed, but we learned black and white don't go together, all right? Now we learned, how can we learn from this, you know? But it's that cost of opportunity. But once again, it all falls under the engine. What's that community he's gonna do, right?
But the system itself is not ideal. You know what I mean? So
But who controls the system?
I was just saying, it depends on where you're at.
Exactly. Now you know what I mean? Because if I control my system, I know what my system is going to produce. It's just like the NBA. Who's going to be the winning team? What systems do they have? You know what I mean?
like if you have 1,000 companies, 100 of them are unwell.
Correct.
We're not saying it's 100% of everybody.
Efficient. Oh, correct.
Inconsistent or improperly led. We're saying that 90% of all industry is improperly led. And what happens is your first top of the peak, self-developed, never occurs.
I believe it.
It puts down to the people with the soft and hard skills as the culprit, and they're not.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. But then that's where you have to, the CEO has to have his own self-development, has his own QCs. Remember I said, systems have QCs to check their own QCs. The leader, when it comes to self-development, you're knocking and you're kicking yourself more than anybody else is. Now, if you're complacent, or that leader is complacent, that engine is complacent, then there's nothing no one's going to change about. Everything's going to keep running the same way. That I think we're all saying the same thing for two different lenses, and two different perspectives. But I agree with you. If the person wants to learn, he's going to change. True or not? If he wants to learn, he's going to change. If he doesn't want to learn, he's not going to change. Because you can get all the data, like you said, they can get all the data, they can get all the facts, all the overtime, but the CEO goes, and just is going to keep going like that. No one's going to eventually reach them. And then he has all those layers in between. Nothing's ever going to kick him out. But that can be like municipal, state. Once again, we can start going into politics on that side. But if me, a mom and pop shop, and I do that to my guys, and they say, I don't want to do that. And I say, well, do it. And then they say, you know what, I'm sick tomorrow. And now work doesn't get done. And there's a big fat zero, and now cost associated with that. Now I'm going to be like, I got to change. You know what I mean? Or I can make the decision and say, you know what, business is not for me. Like what we see the people in the beginning of the solar industry. They're sticking around when it's a sales, when it's commission, right? We're in the service side of things now. Where are they? 63% are closing down shop. From the beginning of the solar, when solar started, to now, 63% closed up shop. I guarantee you, when they were brought issues, they were like, I'd rather hang it up. That's fine. But that's eventually what's going to go. Now, if you have government funding, now if you have a state organization, if you're a utility company, you're never going to shut down. You know what I mean? Georgia's always going to keep the lights on, with or without. You know what I mean? So like me, when the railroad, don't be a hero, the trains are still going to run. There's nothing that was going to happen. So that's why they were saying, don't try to do anything that's going to mess with our OT. Because if you get the foreman mad, then instead of cost of failure, the cost of opportunity, what do middle management tend to do when they neglect the CEOs? They punish them by giving no overtime this week. That's usually how it goes. And then what happens? The guys go start banging out work, FMLA, everything, bro. We've been there, And then they're like, all right, guys, pizza party, and now we'll get overtime. Now everyone goes back. We're all a happy family until guess what? It happens all over again. Someone up there says something, gets people upset about, it's a cycle. Like you said, it's a never-ending cycle, right? If you don't fix that, it's the same issue, repeat. But I appreciate it, bro. You literally hit it on the head, bro. That's exactly it. It applies differently to every organization that we go to, especially people who build it up, like build their own company, can have that now, that own personal feel.
You're qualifying people differently. So people that build up a small business are typically touted as high performers. They're the people coming in with high level of competency, experience, and a knowledge base and connections to build their business from the ground up. So their mentality coming in is completely different.
Well, then it also depends on what mentality. Remember, I'm saying specifically solar and construction and electrical. There's two different mentalities. There's a hard skill, because there's a whole bunch of guys that I know say, oh, I could slap glass, I can make a business out of that, but they don't have the systems. Then there's the guys with the systems, the background, the networking, that they say, I could start my own service company, but they don't have the hard skills. So then it also goes down to the individual. So that's why we're saying these are the key principles: hard skills, soft skills, and then self-development. If you understand the work, or if you have a team for the work, awesome. If you understand soft skills, or if you have a team for soft skills, awesome. If you understand you're a leader and you want to keep growing, all of these things are going to work together. Now, if someone decides on the top, I don't want to grow, then you're going to see the choke points in either avenue. If someone doesn't communicate with someone from the field, doesn't communicate with the office, there's a new choke point. That's why I'm saying with these principles, you can isolate where the issue is. And they all communicate with each other. And that's why you can have a successful company if you understand what's going on in the field, what's going on in the office, with middle management, and what's going on with the leader. If the leader is holding himself accountable with self-development, he's going to build a company where soft skills and hard skills feel valued, appreciated, or they're going to communicate with each other. If they don't want to work, the leader, then the example of CEO of Starbucks. Did you saw that? You saw that, right? Did you guys see that? The CEO of Starbucks was fired. because he said, guess what, guys? It's 6 o'clock. Why are you calling me? What culture did he set for the entire company? So if the CEO says, don't call me after 6, middle management now in the field with the coffee stores closing at 8 p.m., hey, there's a problem. Whoa, it's 6 o'clock. What are the workers now going to say? You understand? To the point where they dropped $10 billion. The second they fired him and hired the guy from Chipotle, their stock went up $20 billion. They made $10 billion just by firing and hiring someone else. They said that $10 billion, because the guy, when he came over, his severance package was, hey, you'll get a jet, company jet, They gave him the whole shebang. And they said, $100 million for this guy in bonuses. We got 10 bill. I'll take that bet any day. But it all comes from leadership. Now, he was the CEO. Who's above CEO? The board of directors, you know. So there's always another level, right? So if the CEO eventually now go to the board of directors, is someone going to do something? Now, state municipalities are different. Now you got elected officials. Now that's dark waters. We don't want to go into. You know what I mean? But it's the same flow though. At some point, someone has to dictate, this is good for us, this is not good for us. Are we going? Clearly, Starbucks said we clearly want to keep growing. They're saying, what's one way we can self-develop right now? We got to get rid of that guy. Because at the same time, we said, remember, no matter what position you're at, we're all leaders. But what type of leader do you want to be remembered as? A good one? Or, hey, I have some work to do. So in principle, in theory, these are the components that we want to focus on if you want to keep growing. Now, is there things that apply differently in each industry, each niche, each corporation? Of course. And then you got to take those battles as they come. You know, but I really appreciate that. And then you're also with contracting, you said, right? So on your own or with an organization? Huh?
Builders Power.
Builders Power?
Blue Ridge.
Oh, Blue Ridge, yeah.
Yes, Blue Ridge Power.
But in what position of capacity?
Senior Director.
Senior engineer. So that's why, oh, bro. So yeah, especially you, if you make a plan and you follow and you build it out and everything, have it, the SOPs and everything, and then someone in the field doesn't follow it, how do you respond to that?
They don't follow them in the field.
Yeah,
They get a PIP.
there you go. Performance improvement plan, right? Perfect. Now, what if you go, I'm just gonna let that one go. It's up to you to enforce that PIP, right?
I don't let anything go.
That's what I'm saying. Because you recognize the importance of leadership. You recognize the importance of self-development. But if there's like a counterpart, like someone else who's working on another district who goes, this is the first one, I'm gonna let it go. What type of environment is he gonna start creating? That's what I'm saying. So it all comes down to the individual. As much as you can. If that's what you're responsible for, you focus on your tech, you focus on self-development. If that's now, you can say, hey, what I'm doing is not affecting the entire culture, then that's the company culture, the engine who's running that company. But as an individual, what can we focus on? As if you're always going to look at self-development, like what you're doing, you hold your standards. This is the plan. This is the data that we give it up. This is the engineering scope that we're making. This is what's best for the field. And if they don't follow it, we're working on this. Nope. Well, now we're going to do a PIP. You're doing exactly what successful contractors are doing. We're saying the same thing. You are doing exactly what we're saying. You are that leader.
You're a leader, he's a leader in his own right.
Yeah.
He leads teams. He
And-
has to manage the entire project, and you are the engineer who creates the design as well. You know, we're working together, and then he and I are the other people who are leaders in our own space.
And if you have an issue and you're like, hey, the teams aren't following me, and then she goes, just let it go. Now we know what the culture is, right? But at least for your part, you know what you're doing. You're handling your business. You know what I mean? Then what type of fostering? If he goes, no, I'm with you. Remember, give middle management like, hey guys, no. You give that PIP. Then the teams start learning. Then it's opportunity for them to learn. Now you feel like, you see, this is what we're going to keep doing. This is how we're going to keep growing. That's something you can get behind and keep growing with them.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. Ideally, that is what you would want to occur. What I'm saying is, in reality,
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. No. Of course. It's not. Correct.
Departments. Some fail, some don't. The
Yeah.
larger the organization,
And that's the harder part too. Woof. Statewide. I can't even imagine statewide.
No, for example, right? I used to work in the power generating facilities. When we work in these power plants are located in different parts of Georgia. So if you just look at Georgia, outside of
I know. I'm like, why do we have a mic and we're all sitting down?
So if you look at Georgia, you have blue parts of the state, you got red parts of the state, kind of like America. So I say that to say, for certain parts of the state, when you work in Atlanta for the company I work for, the corporate culture is different than the power plant culture. What the company's values are, the company's values are the company's values. But when you get out to the areas, the values may not fall the same. But you know where that comes from? It comes from the leadership. You have a plant manager. If the CEO is telling the chief production officer, here's how we're supposed to do business, that person's supposed to tell their plant managers, here's how we're supposed to do business. If the plant manager chooses not to do business how the company does business, now everyone below that, they're kind of operating how they want to operate. So the CEO knows how they're saying, hey, here's how we want to do business. But out in the field, they're not doing that because that cog in the hole in that piece right there in the system is not operating how it's supposed to operate. So they can do everything they need to do, but when you get to so many levels, or you're talking, I don't know, 6,000 employees and you got 400 employees under one person, those 400 employees can be run the road because that one cog in the system is not following what that CEO over the 6,000 folks is telling them to do.
Exactly.
So
100%.
just take that one guy.
Oh, that's all.
Oh, that was all? I thought you were going to go on something. You're like, but no.
The mic, he knew how to shut me up, didn't he?
That would be real smart. That's a strategy. Make an SOP for that. QC.
I was shut up, Patrice. Give her the mic.
No, but I appreciate, truly appreciate all you guys. I know we're coming close on time. I think we overpassed it. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I love breaking bread with you guys, taking down notes. If you guys want to connect, I'll feel free to give you my information. But if you guys have any questions, concerns, feel free to come after. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, okay? Appreciate you.